Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to SoReal Sessions. We are on my series 10 to 28, and this is episode 2. So, on today's episode, I'm going to recap everything. But before I get into this, I just want to say that I apologize for my setting. I'm actually going to make this my setting because it's a lot more comfortable for me. But I realize that there's no such thing as a perfect setting. I was actually just talking to somebody about this today. Is there has to be a balance between striving for your dreams and then also stability and doing what you need to do to provide for your family. So these videos get done in the late night hours of the night because I work full time. But let's go ahead and dive right back into this. So, in my last video, I shared a lot of my backstory, how I grew up with my mother in and out the mental hospital, and how I grew up with my dad working a lot, and how at the age of 10 was the first thought of wanting to commit suicide. And I did mention a story about how there was a girl who came and told my dad that I was kissing a boy. He came, he got me. I was not kissing a boy. She lied, and I was on punishment. But what this young lady didn't realize is that she would be the one who kick-started a really rough life, really. Not only did she go and tell my dad these lies, she went and started spreading rumors about me, about calling me a hoe at the age of 10, and just putting dirt on my name. The crazy thing is that even though this was a lie, a lot of people believed her. And during this time of my life, when I already felt like I had nobody there, I really didn't have many friends. And a lot of the girls in the neighborhood, they weren't able to hang out with me because that reputation that she started to build on false, pretenses. She made up things about me that weren't true, but people's parents didn't want their kids hanging around me. They would call me fast, or I'm doing too much for my age. And as a little girl, that was heartbreaking because I didn't understand what they were talking about. All I knew is that whatever they were saying about me hurt. And I have some friends that were able to hang out with me. I have a good friend, Mariah, who's my daughter's godmother now. I also have a friend, Brittany, and a friend, Brianne, who I used to hang out with a lot. I actually just hung out with Brittany like last week or something like that, and I haven't seen her in a while. But me and her, we met like in 7th grade, or actually I think it was before then. We were in elementary school, I believe. But we were just really cool, and I remember being friends with her, and it felt like, I just had a true friend. She didn't judge me, anything that other people said about me. She didn't go talking behind my back or, believing what anybody else said. She was my friend because of me. She saw me for who I was, and she didn't care what nobody else thought. She was my friend. We hung out a lot together. We laughed a lot together. And just seeing her the other day made me so happy because we kind of talked about how a lot of what we go through as children, it's like the instrumental years of our lives because it really dictates how we grow up. And she was saying how we were speaking about someone's particular mother, how she didn't, she thought these bad things about me, and she didn't allow her child to be around me. And she was like, that's, now that I think about it, that's messed up. And it is. And the crazy thing is that that rumor that she made really caused, it was like the beginning of a self-destructive lifestyle. And when I say that it was the beginning of a self-destructive lifestyle, it's because she would literally go around and tell everybody, oh, you see Lauren? Oh yeah, she's a hoe, when I was a virgin. So many people laughed at me and they didn't want to be my friend because of it. And it just made me feel like more lonely than I already was at that age. Around that time, not only did I get bullied for that, but I would get bullied because the way that I dressed, or because my hair wasn't done, or, I just got made fun of a lot and bullied a lot. I did have some friends that cared about me for who I was, but that didn't stop the bullying from hurting me. And I remember just hating myself because of the fact that nobody was there feeding positive words to me, or deflecting all my negative thoughts into something positive. So all I'm doing is hearing these bad things about me, and then me hating myself because nobody likes me. And bringing it back to my daughter, which really is what made me think about this whole series. She'll say things like, oh, they're acting this way because they don't like me, or, they hate me, and all these things. And I really have to talk her through a lot of negative things that her mind is trying to plant a seed. And that's all it is. It's the enemy planting seeds at a young age, so that way, as we grow up and we water that seed, we become all those things that we thought, or that we felt, or that we experienced when we were little. I was speaking to someone and they were letting me know how they were treated when they were little, and it completely made who they are now, but not in a good way. It made them not be able to be affectionate, or not be able to love, or not be able to love themselves. And honestly, that's how it's like for a lot of people. So at that time, when you don't have someone there speaking positivity into you at a young age, and even now as an adult, if you're not speaking positivity into yourself and reversing all those lies that you carried within yourself for all those years, you're going to continue to walk in those lies. And it really took me having to unravel and break all those lies that I was fed since the age of 10. And because of the name calling and the self-hate, it caused me to turn to a whole nother area that I probably wouldn't have ventured into had I not went through any of that or experienced any of that, because it caused me not to care about myself, hence having to deal with cutting and overdoses and all types of stuff. Hearing all those name callings really made me feel like I was nothing, like nobody cared. It made me feel like no one loved me, and like I had to prove myself. From the age of 10 to 13 was nothing but constant torture of feeling down, feeling depressed, feeling not loved. And although I was a happy child, you could start to tell the behavior differences when I got to sixth grade. That's like around 11 years old, I think. In sixth grade is when I started to, looking back, is really when I guess you could say it was my cry for help, because I started being disruptive in class. I started cussing teachers out in sixth grade. And I was just starting to grow really angry. So from the age of 10 to 13, it stirred up a lot of self-hate, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, and I felt like nobody was there. So I started to look for attention in all the wrong places by acting up in class or cussing a teacher out or just not caring. All those years from the age of 10 to 13, I didn't know what the root of the issue was at the time. I just knew how to react. And because of that, because I had no guidance or no direction, and I really had to learn a lot of things on my own, I ended up losing my virginity at 13. And now looking back and I see these girls at 13, I'm like, bro, like how? Like how did that even happen? But it really was because I was lacking so much in my life, and I felt the need to go find it somewhere else. And I remember I lost my virginity on January 7th. I remember the day, and it was a complete failure. Like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Actually, I wasn't thinking, really. I ended up losing my virginity, and then the guy broke up with me and never talked to me again. It was just the worst thing ever. So it's just like piles upon piles upon piles of just, a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. And I felt a lot of rejection. Until this day, I still battle those scars. And I was going to share this in the beginning, but I guess now's a good time. So as soon as I finished recording the first episode, as soon as I got finished recording the first episode of this series, 10 to 28, this negative energy just like hit me like crazy. Like it knocked me over the head for like a good month and a half. Like, or probably less than that, but it seemed like forever. I just started feeling better about 3 days ago. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I was telling her, although I've overcame so much, certain things God allows you to revisit more than once, because there's something that you still have to learn, and there's something you still have to heal from. And I was telling her, the different scars that I've carried throughout my life. And one of them is rejection. And now that I think about it, I gave up something so precious of mine. And I became non-existent to him right after. And with those feelings of rejection, like right after me and him, after we broke up, I ended up getting a boyfriend at 13 who was 18 years old. And I talk about it a little bit in my book. But I was 13 and he was 18. And that's when my life really started to get extremely like next level crazy. And this is when the cutting started, because at first everything was cool. I felt loved, and looking back, I see I see how men prey on young girls who don't know anything, who don't have a backbone. Because that's who I was. I was someone who I didn't have a backbone. I didn't know my worth. Um, I had a rocky relationship with my father, especially at this time, because at 13, I was running away from home. I got expelled from school for stalking a teacher. I was just like off the chart, out of control. I started smoking weed and drinking at 13, and I was heavily smoking and heavily drinking. I would smoke every single day, 5 blunts a day, always high. That's just who I was. And I was just so lost. So he preyed on me to control my mind because I already had a rocky relationship with my father, and I already was lost. I already was broken. So when he came in, at first everything was amazing. He showed me love and attention that I wasn't getting. Um, he cared for me, and I just felt so much love. Um, and I remember since he was older, he would come pick me up and we would go run away. And um, when I ended up, let's see, how can I say this? So, yeah, he made me feel things that I wasn't getting from home. He made me feel loved. I didn't feel rejected in the beginning, but really all of that was a trap and a setup to keep me stuck where I was at. There was one time where I came home after being away for about a week or something. I ran away for like a week. And I got into it with my dad, and me and him, a little altercation happened. I ended up going to juvie for terrorist threat is what they charged me with. And then I ended up being on house arrest for a month. And he would come pick me up. We would spend some time together, blah, blah, blah. And things were just great at first. And then next thing you know, I would find out that he was cheating. And he constantly cheated on me. He cheated on me with like 27 females. Yes, I still remember the number. But we were together from the age of me being 13 to me being 15 and a half. And it was just a really toxic relationship. I just remember every time he cheated on me, I would just keep crying and keep crying. And I never felt like I was enough. I already hated myself. So me constantly finding out that I was being cheated on and already feeling like I wasn't enough within myself and hating myself, that's when the cutting really started to take place. And I just remember thinking like, I don't want to live, I don't want to live. And it's crazy, just everything that I went through with him. The cheating started, it never stopped. And next thing you know, he started to becoming physically abusive. I remember him like slapping me in the face, and him like punching me. He punched me like right dead in the middle of my nose, and I just went through so much psychological things. And I didn't realize it until I was older that it was considered statutory rape, because I was a little kid basically with this grown man, and he was just really possessive and controlling, and I couldn't do anything. I remember one time he got mad at me for some reason, and he made me stay at his friend's house for, I think it was like 4 days. I couldn't go anywhere, and then he would force me to have sex with him like as many times as he wanted to, repeatedly. And he would ooh, yeah, he would you know just do things to me that I guess still hurts. um, he'd make me feel like I was nothing. He would call me out of my name and make me feel like I was nothing. So I went through 3 years of physical, mental, emotional abuse from him. So already, is if you can really grasp it, it's just patterns and patterns of unhealthy, toxic behavior in my life that caused me to really just hate life and hate myself. And one thing that I don't really talk about much, but still sticks with me, is um, when I was 14, I actually was pregnant. Um, and I remember telling him that I was pregnant, and him telling me that he didn't think it was his, so he wanted me to get an abortion. And he punched me in the stomach and told me, the baby's not his, and that if I wanted to be with him, that I needed to get an abortion. And I remember coming to tell my parents that I was pregnant when I was 14. And I remember that, at that time, I wanted to be with him. Um, so I went to go get an abortion in 2006. And that's something that it was just really hard for me to get over. It wasn't something that, it's like, now that I think about it, everything happens for a reason. And I don't know what I would have done at 14 taking care of a child. But that whole process was just one of the craziest things that I've ever been through. So I remember we went to Burbank, I believe it was, and my mom and dad went with me. He did not come. And I remember walking to the clinic, them checking me in, and going into the back. I remember it like it was yesterday, really. I remember going to the back, and it was a locker where they had you change into a gown. And some people were just happy. They're like, this is my 5th abortion and all types of stuff. And I just was really quiet. And then they took me to get the ultrasound. And after that, I waited. Then they put me on a table and they put an IV in me. And all I remember is them saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, a model. And then, like that, lights were out. And then I woke up, and I just remember, like, jolting up and just crying, like, my baby, where's my baby at? Like, where's my baby? And, man, I was numb for a cool minute, probably like a year or two. And I would just randomly cry. Or I'll randomly think, like, dang, my baby would have been, this age, or my baby would have been this age. And I guess it makes me emotional because I haven't thought about it in a long time. So having to relive everything is pretty crazy. Um, I had the abortion, and me and him still stayed together, but nothing changed. The cheating still happened, the abuse still happened, and it was it wasn't until I was about 15 and a half that I started changing, and something in me just started to shift. I just, started to, I guess, grow a backbone. And I would tell her, I ended up telling him, like, I just can't do this anymore. And he ended up pulling out a gun and putting it to his head and was like, no, you can't leave me. Manipulation, now that I see it from my age, looking back. But it was just an extremely toxic relationship. And during this time, throughout these years, I just felt like I had to prove my worth through sex in my eyes, because I didn't have any worth. And a lot of people at school, they'll call me all types of names and make rumors about me that weren't even true. Like, oh, in I seen her at this party and she had a train ran on her, and oh, she had sex with this guy, blah blah blah, like putting bodies on me that weren't even there. And who, nobody listened to me, nobody took the time to get to know me. All they did was believe whatever rumor was out there and build on it. So I had so many people till this day who are on my Facebook who said a lot of mean things about me, and who've called me names or spread rumors about me, and still till this day haven't came up to me and apologized, which I don't expect them to. It is what it is, but it did hurt that they never took the time to get to know me for who I was. They just judged me off of what other people said, and kind of like pushed me to the side like I was a nothing. So all those years, it caused me to be just this fragile girl who hated herself for a very long time. And it reflected in the way I carried myself. You could tell by my actions and by the way I treated myself that I just didn't love myself. And I had to learn self-love, and it was a journey. And I really wish I could continue sharing more, but I want to be able to take you guys through my testimony from 10 to 28. And some of the stuff that I say, I know it really is airing out my dirty laundry, but I just want to be able to help those who have a story. And yeah, it might make you feel some type of way. You might be shy or whatever, but somebody needs to hear it. I journeyed through the age of 10 in my first episode. And on this episode, you got more of age 13 through 15. On my next episode, I definitely want to go into more detail of me starting to realize my worth, and just take you on the journey and share with you how I became the woman who I am now, and possibly go over some stuff I may have left out, but to me I feel like I left it all on the table. But until next time, remember that every trial that you've gone through will soon become a testimony. Somebody is going to need to hear it. and it's going to be deliverance for somebody. So, until next time, thank you for tuning in to SoReal Sessions, series 10 to 28. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share so somebody else can hear it too. Much love to all of you.